Good morning, everybody. This is the second in a series of videos that we're running out at the moment. As you're aware, the government announced a really significant spending package to counteract the coronavirus impact on the economy. Now, what I'm going to take you through today is exactly how this applies to small to medium-sized business in Australia. There are a set of benefits that are set aside for individuals, and there are a set of benefits that are set aside for businesses. And for our clients that operate these kinds of businesses that are going to be or have been affected by the impact of the virus, either it be a forced close down, either it be just a knock-on impact, then the government have stepped up to the plate and offered various benefits that are available to those businesses. So I'll just take you through the key points of this package. You have to forgive me because some of these things are reasonably complex and I do need to brush through them. I can't have you sitting on a video for half of your day to try to understand this. So if there are any questions or anything that you'd like to discuss further as a result of the information that I provide for you, certainly I'm available, and certainly your accounting team, the people in the accounting group will be the go-to people to be able to provide direct hands-on assistance with this kind of thing. So the first measure that's been announced by the government is cash flow assistance. Now, the government's going to provide up to $100,000 to eligible small and medium-sized businesses, and that includes not-for-profits, charities, those sorts of people that employ people, and they're going to provide that at a level of up to $100,000, and some lower end people to a level of $20,000. These payments will help businesses cash flow so they can keep operating and to pay the regular ongoing costs of running a business, rent, electricity, other bills, all that sort of stuff. So the payments are going to be run through the standard BAS activity lodgement system. So where you lodge your either monthly or quarterly BAS statements is where the government is going to inject these funds back to you. Now, the best way to explain this is in an example that is given by the government on their website. Now, I'm using this example because it is quite complicated. I'm not going to go through the reasons why it is, but I'm just going to show you how it is. The example I use is Sarah, and Sarah owns a small business building operation in South Australia. She has 8 employees or 8 construction workers, and each of her employees earn $89,730 a year. So this obviously means that each month Sarah is actually remitting tax on her BAS on behalf of each of these people. So she's actually paying $8 month on her business activity statement, which is the tax that she's collected on behalf of those people. Now, under these government changes, what will happen is that when she lodges her BAS for the March period, she will get a credit of $45,024. Now, this is a 300% or 3 times that $15,008 that we saw. And it's effectively a $15,000 it's a 3-month, I beg your pardon, upfront payment. Now, moving on from that, when she lodges her April BAS, she will then get another credit of $4,976 before she reaches what is the government's first threshold, which is a $50,000 threshold. Now, once she gets in the May period, she's actually reached that $50,000 threshold for this financial year, which means that she doesn't get any benefit then. From the June period onward, she will start to get additional benefits of $12,500 for each of the months of June, July, and August. And September, because these 4 payments of $1,250 each make up the $50,000, which would be the cap that would apply in the second financial year. So she can reach a cap of $100,000, $50,000 in the first financial year, and $50,000 in the following financial year. This means that what was previously announced on the 12th of March as the stimulus package was capped to $25,000. The new cap has been increased to $100,000. So it effectively means that Sarah will have received credits of $100,000, which means that that $100,000 will be in her bank account up to and including the September period. Now, they gave us another example, and I'll quickly run through this one because it's quite similar. We're assuming that Sean owns a hairdressing salon. He employs 12 hairdressers. He reports $8,788 on his monthly BAS as tax payments for these employers. He will receive, again, the big whammy up front, which is the 300%er, the first upfront payment, which is $26,364. Obviously, he only needs to remit $8,788. So he already has a tax credit in that payment. And then credits for April and May period. And then flowing that through for June, he receives the June 25%, and again in July, and again in August, and again in September, just like Sarah did. The business then effectively receives the $100,000 spread over a 6-month period. And it only applies to businesses that turn over $50 million or less. So obviously the level of turnover is important as to whether or not you're eligible. It translates simply as an employment supplement. That is, you have to keep employing these people in order to receive the benefits. You're receiving the benefits, which means that the ongoing maintenance of their employment is still possible. It is a complicated process. You will need help in doing your BASs for the next 6 months, because it's important that upon lodgement that you get it right as far as claiming back the benefits that are entitled to you. Each of these benefits that's paid when you receive lodge a BAS, and that BAS has a significant credit on it, my understanding is that the Australian Taxation Office will then refund your credit to your bank account within 14 days. There is also temporary relief for financially distressed businesses. It says that the government understands that businesses will find that in this period that they will suffer periods of financial stress. Under normal circumstances, a creditor issuing a statutory demand on a company is a way for a creditor to force a company into liquidation. New provisions are going to apply in relation to that rule, which says that they're going to increase the minimum threshold that a creditor can actually make a claim against your business from $2,000 to $20,000. And furthermore, they are saying that your statutory time frame you would normally need to respond to that creditor would have been 21 days. They're now going to increase that to 6 months. The government will also make some changes to the personal insolvency system as regulated by the Bankruptcy Act. The threshold for a creditor to force someone into bankruptcy used to be $5,000. That's now going to $20,000. And a failure to respond to that kind of notice usually push someone straight into bankruptcy, and that you needed to respond within 21 days. You now have 6 months to if you're personally affected. Also, if a person voluntarily makes a decision to enter bankruptcy, their waiting period, or their think period, we used to call it, is extended from 21 days to 6 months. So these issues are designed to allow business to function even whilst people are struggling financially. Directors normally have really significant issues if they're trading their company whilst insolvent. This can lead to the company directors having their personal assets attacked by any creditor. And what the government have now done is to say that to make sure that companies have this confidence to continue, that the idea is that the aim is to ensure that directors will be temporarily relieved of this duty to trade solvently. So that means there will be periods where some companies that you're dealing with, or your own company, might be having a period of trading whilst insolvent. Okay, let's look at an example of how this would work. If we have Mon and Dave, they own a small business chain of yoga studios, for example, obviously the travel restrictions mean that people have a great deal of difficulty getting to their yoga studio. As a result, their company incurs more debt, and some of their debts they can't meet when they become payable. They enter into arrangements with those creditors. Under the current provisions of the Corporations Act, these owners of this business would be personally liable if they took on further debt without placing the business into administration or liquidation. However, they continue to operate even though they have arrangements in place or they can't pay certain debts, and they will not be personally liable for those debts. So when economic conditions can improve, they can go back to their normal trading arrangements. Further measures that the government have announced is that the asset purchases of new vehicles, purchases of computing equipment, computers of business, printers, business equipment, tools, etc. You can write up immediate write-off of 50% of those on tax up to the value of $150,000. The government will continue to pay 50% of wages for apprentices that you have. The government will provide a guarantee of 50% of all loans, small business loans, unsecured loans offered by banks and financial institutions. That means that you can actually run up a business overdraft without any security to support that overdraft flow. Say, for example, your own home or something else, and that loan up to a value of $250,000 will be actually underwritten by the government, so the bank has no risk. The government is also cutting red tape by removing the responsible lending criteria, which means that banks, small and finance companies will be able to lend faster and be able to lend irrespective of the fact that their immediate numbers show that you can actually repay that loan. So the combination of all of these is a massive stimulus package available to small businesses, particularly small businesses under $50 million in turnover. The details around the package are relatively complicated. You need to be talking to your accountants in relation to your BAS statements to make sure that they're done properly. You need to be talking to your bank or your financiers about what available credit is going to be available to you, and how that can be structured under the government guarantee. There is some very, very challenging times ahead for small business. We're here to support, to provide help and assistance where required. Please forward this video on to anybody who you feel might be affected. Please be assured that we're able to be contacted via our office, and then subsequently by mobile, and just be assured also that we are here to help, and we would certainly look forward to being that for you as we progress through this probably 4 to 6 months of what will be a very tumultuous time in business. Good luck, stay healthy. If you need anything, please feel free to get in touch.